Fighting sail. Fleet actions? Ah! Today on The Joy of Wargaming, we are going to play out a frigate duel. What you're looking at is the American fifth-rate vessel, the USS Burger Eater. Sailing of 6, discipline of 6, boarding of 4, gunnery of 5, with a marksman, re-rolling 1s, and a hull of 3. They are going up against the Dread Pirate, Captain Fileshare. Little better sailor, sailing of 7, not so good with the discipline, 5, really good at the boarding, 5 dice on that, and they're swashbucklers, so they get to re-roll any 1s. Gunnery of 4, not so good, and then again, 3 hull points. Now, when you play a fleet action game as a 1v1, things work a little bit different. Normally, because you have so many ships, one side moves all of their ships, and then the other side moves all of their ships. Today, what we're going to do is roll our dice. So we'll just set up a pretend... Oh, let me get my white dice, because we're going to need those for the pirate. We're going to set up just a first turn. Now, what's going to happen is we got to figure out which way the wind is blowing. Why don't we start with that? I think that sounds like a lot of fun. We got 8 compass points here, and I'm going to start her off like this. The wind is blowing that way. I'm going to roll a d8, and I'm going to turn this dial clockwise that many places. So with a 7 going clockwise, it's the same thing as turning it this way. So that means that our wind is going to start the game blowing to the... Oh, in fact, it's going to be the entire game. It's going to be blowing to the northwest. Good times, good times. Now, we also don't know which way these guys are coming in, but let's just go ahead and roll these sailing dice. I will show you. I'm going to use the yellow dice for the pirate, and I'm going to use he's a little bit better sailor, so I've got 7 dice for him, and I've got 6 dice for the Americans. Now, whoever's mast is furthest downwind gets to go first. If we were just taking this as it is, as the ships are set up just as you see them, then the ship whose mast is furthest downwind, remember, the wind is blowing to the northwest. That means that let's check that rule here real quick. The player starting with a player whose ship's main mast is furthest downwind. Yeah, so that means our pirate is furthest downwind. And, well, we'll roll the dice first, and just based on if there's no damage, we'll use the same old process we always do. We drop this guy down here, and that pirate ship, because he's downwind, is... I got to put it on this side. It's the side that the wind is blowing on. So we put this template down next to him, and because the wind is blowing in that direction, he is considered... Oh, no, wait. No, I do need to put it here. The wind is coming this way, so he is reaching. And our American vessel, because he is sailing into the wind, would be classed as in irons. All right, so our American vessel only moves on a 6. He's only going to move 2 inches. On the other hand, our pirate vessel has a pretty good roll. We'll take out all the misses. He succeeds on a 4 up. So you take turns. Starting with him, he would make a maneuver. And that means spending 1 or 2 points, depending on what maneuver he's doing. The only maneuver that costs 2 points is turning into the wind. So if he were to say, I want to move 90 degrees, there's 2 points he spent. Then our American spends his 2 inches moving forward. And then our pirate gets to opt to move 2 inches and pivot, right? So you can see the advantage lies with the pirate in this case. But that advantage all arises from the fact that he's got the weather gauge. He is downwind, so not only does he get to see where the American goes, but he's far more likely to get the points he needs. Let's talk about terrain. These are islands. These rocks are also classed as islands. If you bonk into one, you're going to take some damage. We'll go through that if it happens. I'm going to spread these out, just give these guys a little bit more room. The shoals are where things get interesting. When you enter the shoals, you have to make a sailing test. So again, our pirates, you need to succeed on a 6. Oh no, they failed. That means they have run aground. And when you run aground, bad things happen. The ship gets a damage token. Place 3 anchor tokens on the ship's base to show that it has run aground. This is where here's our 3 anchor tokens. Remember, every turn, you got to pass a discipline check to remove one of those. In other words, if you go through the shoals and you fail, you run aground, now our American can kind of take up position wherever he wants, drop anchor, and just start raking you up the stern, which, you know, is not a good thing, man. It's not a good thing. People will tell you it's okay to take it up the stern, but this game will show you it's deadly, man. It's deadly. Anyway, the other question we have to answer is, and I'm not, you guys know, it's going to be in this direction. The other question we have to answer, I can kind of show you. Here's our terrain. Boop, 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 boop. See, we got a couple of islands, a couple of shoals out there, and of course the rocks that you want to avoid. Now, the question is who is going to start where? And to answer that question, we need to roll a d8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is where the pirates are going to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the pirates are going to start in this corner of the table. And the question is, how far away were the Americans? What direction were they in when they discovered the pirates? And we're going to roll the d8 again, and this might be hilarious. 1. So the Americans are going to come up. The burger eaters are going to come in on that side of the table. Captain Fileshare has opted to start off reaching. So when he rolls a dice on this first turn, he's going to succeed on a 4. You can see way up here in the distance, the USS Burger Eater is coming in just a little bit close-hauled. Let's talk strategy before we get too deep into this. The U.S. Navy is better disciplined, better gunners. The pirates are better boarders. So the U.S. Navy is going to want to try to keep their distance as much as possible and just sink these guys out of hand. These guys are going to want to close in and come to grips as fast as possible. So they're going to race up. This is just kind of the general strategy, while the Americans kind of circle around and dare those pirates. Take advantage of the shoal. I dare you to cross those shoals to come at me. Because if the pirates run aground, they're just going to get shot to ribbons. At least that's what I think is going to happen. As I said, we are going to have to roll for the sailing dice. And our pirates are going to roll 7. And our boys in blue are going to roll 6 dice. The yellow dice will succeed on 4s, and because so there you go. So they get 4 dice to start. And because the Americans are running, well, as I put it down right there, they're actually running, man, they are in irons. You really want to be in irons, guys? That seems a little bit nuts. The wind is coming off of this quarter. They don't want to be dead in, so they're actually going to circle around. We'll start them off a little something like moving in that direction. Yeah, that's going to be, wow. They basically have to be something like that. So they are going to run away? What? Who's chasing who here, guys? They're only succeeding on 5s, and this is part of why they did that. So the question then becomes, if we draw a diagonal line, and I think this diagonal is going to give me fits, the pirates are actually going to have to move first. And what I'll do is I'll leave the dice there. They're going to go ahead and just move, well, they'll move up to 2 inches. And then because the wind is coming this way, that's all they can do. No, they can't. No, they can make their 90-degree turn. They want to turn like so. Now that costs 2 points. So that's their first maneuver. And then all the Americans can do is move that 2 inches. And they're done for the turn. Then our pirates get to use their last 2 points. And they're just going to go ahead and sail 4 inches up. And I think, which way do we want to turn? And they're not happy about being in irons. So we'll at least turn them like that, and we'll see what happens. Everybody is running close hauled. So we'll roll for points, looking for 5s. And this time around, the pirates are going to get 4 sailing points, and the Americans are going to get 4 sailing points. And definitely, so here's our compass rose. If we draw a diagonal line perpendicular to that, the pirates are still furthest downwind, if you can believe it. They're going to move, and there's no gunfire that's going to happen right now. These islands are blocking the way. And what do? I think we just go ahead and move 2 inches here. And then the Americans are going to move their 2 inches, and I'm just going to save some time. They're going to move 4 inches and then make their first turn like so. So they've used 2 of their points. These guys are going to move their next 2 inches. And then it's that, you know what, I'm going to speed things along rather than kind of lunging across the table repeatedly. The Americans are going to move their 4 inches up to here, racing to try to get ahead of the weather gauge, and then our pirates are also going to kind of head them off. And I think at this point they'll go ahead and because they're turning into the wind, they can turn up to 90 degrees. And so I put the turn template down like that. And I think we're just going to kind of bring them something like, I think that's pretty good. They're just going to race on down, and it may be a bit of a chase. That's the end of the turn. So the next thing we have to do is roll them bones. And again, if, the Americans do have a shot if they're within 18 inches. There's 18 inches right there. So unfortunately for the Americans, maybe they should have tried to cross their T like that, but it's too late now. Got to roll those dice again. After checking off camera to save some time, the Americans are now in irons, but they get a couple of successes, so they do get to move a little bit. The pirates are close-hauled. They're going to get successes on 4s. And the only other question is, who is furthest downwind? And once again, it's close, but it's going to be the pirates are the furthest downwind. They got to move first. So they move 2 inches. And then the American vessel is going to move 2 inches and turn 30 degrees. The pirates will use their second point, and then the Americans will use their last point to turn. Ooh. They're not going to turn at all. They're going to stay with their broadside facing. So 2, 3, 4, and then they can turn up to 90 degrees. So we can put that along the backside, and they're going to turn that way. So now we have our first bit of shooting. Now that all the movement is done, we can engage in some gunnery. For those of you that haven't seen this game, the fire arcs look a little something like this. You use your turn template, it's 30 degrees. So you can see that the American ship is within that 30-degree arc. Then we have to check the range, as we always do. They are just outside of 12 inches, which means both ships are going to be hitting on 5s, and that's about it. The U.S. Navy is going to roll a total of 5 dice, re-rolling 1s, and the pirates are going to roll 4 dice. Looking for 5s. The Americans get no hits, well, they get the 1 hit. And the pirates are able to get 2 hits. So the next step is to roll for the hull, and both ships have a total of 3 hull points. So I'm going to roll. We got 1 hit, which is not negated, which puts him with an anchor. Then the pirates did 2 hits on the naval ship, and they don't save any. 2 hits is shaken. The ship gets an anchor token. If it already had an anchor token, it would have taken a damage instead. To make things more interesting, I'm going to start rolling a weather die at the start of every turn. On a result of a 6, oh, see, I should have talked a little bit faster. I'm going to roll on the weather change chart, and you just roll a d6 to find out what's happened. And on a result of a 6, the wind picks up to a gale. So Gale Force has made her first appearance. I think this is the first time I've seen Gale Force wins. The wind picks up. Ships that are reaching get sailing points on a... Oh boy, this gets really complicated. Well, first let's go ahead and figure out who moves first, what they are going to do. And then does it change direction? No. So all that happened is the wind that we were taking advantage of. So there's our wind direction. And the naval vessel has to move first. Got to remember that. Under a gale force wind, if you are reaching, and we should figure out which way these guys are doing, so the wind is coming from that direction. These guys are they reaching or are they running? So we line this line up like that. So he's reaching, he gets sailing points on 3s. He gets a total of all the sailing points. 7 sailing points for our pirate. The U.S. Navy is close. Oh, no, you know what? Is that true if you're... So our U.S. naval vessel is only going to be rolling... Did I roll too many dice there? Oh, no, 6 dice for the U.S. Navy. Because he is in irons... Oh, you know what, though? They both have anchors. Which means you only move on 6s. The pirates still have the advantage. Well, that's an interesting question. Ships that are reaching, ships that are close hauled, ships in irons get a damage token as their rigging is blown dangerously against the mast. What? Who's in irons here? Boy, are you in irons? The American naval vessel might have just got hosed by the weather. The weather is coming in. Yeah, they're in irons, so they take a damage token as the sudden cloudburst. If the ship's in irons, yeah, as the rigging is blown dangerously against the mast. The gale continues until the next turn, at which point the wind dies down and its effects on play return to normal. Well, I'm going to roll that d6 again at next turn, but we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves because he only rolled a single 6 versus 3 6s. This is what our movement looks like. Not only that, but this naval vessel has to move first. And he's going to... Let's put that out of the way. He's going to go ahead and move up and turn 30 degrees so that he is now close hauled. That will help. And then he has to make a discipline check. And that's all the movement he's going to get this time around. His discipline is 6. Looking for any 6s. We got it. The anchor goes bye-bye. If he's not in anchors next turn, then he will get a chance to remove that damage token. Now our pirate gets to make 3 moves, and he wants to close up. So his first move will be, well, you got to move 2 inches dead ahead first. And then the wind is, he's turning into the wind. So if he wants to make that 90-degree turn, it's going to cost him 2 points. He does not. He's going to take a 30-degree turn, move up 2 inches, make a 30-degree turn, move up 2 inches, and then he's got to turn just a little bit. And that might have been a mistake because he's in the fire arc of the naval vessel, but he doesn't have a return shot. But he still has the wind, so I think he's doing okay. Let's bring him in. There we go. Oh, such a good-looking game. These naval battles are just amazing, aren't they? Even my teeny little 2400 chips that I purchased from tumblingdice.co.uk, that is not a paid endorsement. It's just a fan gushing about figures that he thinks are gorgeous. Hey, we're done with the movement now, so we got to do some shooty. And as I said, the only guy that has a shot is the American naval vessel, and they are going to be able to fire all 5 dice. Remember, they are... Oh, no, wait a minute. Before we do that, let's check our pirate discipline. Looking for a 6 to get rid of that anchor. They get it. Well-disciplined pirates. Must be nice. Okay, so now we can roll our 5 dice on the gunnery for the American ship. Are they within 6 inches? They are not, so they're hitting on 4s. They get a total of 2 hits. The pirates have a hull of 3. They don't block any of it, and 2 hits means have yourself an anchor. If you had an anchor, have a damage. But you didn't, so whatever. We got to roll to see what happens to the weather. And on a 5, the wind just blows itself out, but it's still in the same direction. So we can check the sailing dice. Our pirates are now only hitting on 6s because they have that anchor. The pirates are not going to get to move at all. And the naval vessel is going to roll their 6 dice. I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever I'm playing this game and the wind is blowing down Diagon Alley, there's one for your Harry Potter nerds, I tend to struggle a little bit more with the geometry. The wind is hitting that mast like so. They are going to be close-hauled this turn. And rolling the 6 sailing dice, these 5th-rate ships are kind of nimble. Looking for a 5 and not getting it. But you always get a free sailing point. So they can move the 2 inches and swing around like so. And then we're going to check our discipline. So do the pirates get rid of their anchor? They do on a 6. And do the Yanks get rid of their damage token? On a 6 they do. Don't worry, I think we're going to see some damage here in the shooting phase. The pirates are going to be firing like so, and unfortunately for them, that line does not cross the center mast, so they still don't have a shot. Whereas the American Navy, that line goes behind the ship, so the U.S. Navy does have a shot, and it's but mast to mast, they're still not within 6 inches. So we'll roll for the 5 marksmanship dice for the U.S. Navy. Hitting on 4s, they get a total of 4 hits. Rolling the 3 saves eliminates one of those. Wait, so it's 4 hits. One of those is negated. And that means with a total cannon damage of 3 light damage, the ship gets an additional damage token, and if it doesn't have an anchor, it does now. Kerblamo. Now, in the normal game, you play for morale. In this game, you play until the ship strikes the colors, which means either it is reduced to 0 hull, or it takes 4, I'm sorry, if it starts a turn of, I think it's 4 damage tokens, then it sinks, or if you get them to strike their colors, thanks to boarding, which is what our pirates want to do, but they're in trouble. They got to roll their 7 sailing dice. They only get a point on a 6 because of the anchor. They get nothing. Then they're going to roll their discipline dice, looking for a 6 to get rid of that anchor. Whoops, sorry, Mr. Camera. They get a pair of 6s, so they are no longer anchored. Then the Americans get to roll their 6 sailing dice. And because the wind is a-blowing in that direction, which way are they moving? They're moving this way. The wind is now, they are now, I think they're reaching. The wind is, they're just close hauled. Something tells me that's going to change this time. So they only move on 5s. They didn't get any 5s. So they're only going to be able to move up the 2 inches to here, and then they're going to absolutely give themselves a reaching position. That exposes them to the gunfire, but again, remember that the pirates are not nearly as good at shooting. Old Captain Fileshare is going to roll 4 dice to hit. Are we within 6 inches now? There's your 6 inches. We are just... Yeah, everybody's within 6. It's right on the line. I'm going to give it to them. The gunnery of 4, we are going to be hitting on 3s and re-rolling 5s. So that's a total of 4 hits for the pirates with the potential for 3 more hits. 6 hits altogether. So I'm going to put a 6 right here. You now have to make 6 saves. But for their part, the Americans are going to roll 5 dice, hitting on 3s. They get 2 hits, but they get to reroll the 1s. And they get a total of 3 hits. So you have to save 3. And you have 3 hull dice, Mr. Pirate. You're only able to save 1. 2 means you're shaken, means you get an anchor token. So getting rid of that anchor saved you a damage. Now for the U.S. Navy. They're only going to get to roll 3 dice. They don't get any saves, and with 6 damage, they are sunk. Kerplunk. And that's how the frigate duels work. 1 massive broadside was enough to sink them. 6 hits, man. Not a lot you can do about that. Glug, glug, glug. Now, it may seem that that game was a little faster. Of course it was, because you only had 2 ships to worry about. But this is a fun, easy battle. If you're looking for a game to play, say, on a lunch hour, where you just want to throw a blue cloth down, the addition of the terrain does give everybody some difficulties to deal with. The U.S. Navy was, technically, they were kind of downwind. They were in a bad position for staying away. I think this is a fair fight. Both of these ships were 35-point ships. The pirate ship is actually a 34-point 5th raider, with the swashbucklers only cost 1 point. And then the USS Burger Reader is a 29-point ship. So it's not as good a ship, but the marksmanship is more expensive. That costs 6 points. So we were looking at 35 points per ship. Completely even battle. But as is so often the case, it's just a question of who has the better positioning with respect to the wind and with respect to the land. My guess is this was not the U.S. Navy happening upon a vessel, a pirate vessel, but a well-constructed trap. Or maybe Captain Fileshare is just better than the feds. Wouldn't be the first time. Until next time, I'm praying for you.